Welcome back to Chunk Chat. Today I have FrayRS with me, otherwise known as CanifisChunk.
Hello, Fray here. CanifisChunk.
Yep, Wilderness Chunk, whatever name you go by now.
Well, that is very true. No, it's been a while since I've been in Canifis.
For sure. What got you to start playing RuneScape?
Got me to start playing RuneScape. Well, I've been playing RuneScape for about 19 years. Since I was year 4 at school. What's year 4 at school? 8 or 9 years old.
Impressive.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't know when I don't particularly know why I started. That's obviously a long time ago, and I was very young. But I definitely played it with a few of my friends back then, and I was terribly newbie. Played like all the way through like past EOC. Like I played in EOC for quite a while, like in RS3. Quit in like 2014. And then came back again like near the start of 2016. And what's got me starting that time was watching Boaty's One Man Army series on YouTube, which is obviously a classic.
Absolute classic, yeah.
Yeah, and I started making like a Zerk account that was a main, and I uploaded videos on that for a while, like sort of 6-7 years ago. I've since deleted those videos because they are terrible. And then turned that into a main account, and then I started playing a hardcore Ironman, and then an Ironman, and then finally a chunk account.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I remember
exactly.
those early EOC days. I played a bit too. Actually, the new boss that they're proposing, Araxor, I love that boss post EOC.
Yeah, I absolutely love that boss. So, early EOC actually had a little bit of charm to it, to be fair. I actually really liked it. I loved Drygors. They were just extremely fun to use.
Yeah.
Once it started getting past that, I sort of lost it a bit, but the Drygors were pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like it lost the feel of RuneScape pretty hard.
Well, that's what I always say. I reckon RS3 is technically, I mean, I don't think it's even really up for debate, technically a better game on paper than Old School Runescape. Like, if you pitched 2 games to a studio, they would pick RS3 to produce, but it just isn't RuneScape. It just doesn't have that soul that RuneScape had to it, and that's what I think Old School kind of captures quite nicely.
Yeah, if RuneScape didn't happen and then starting like 2013 when Old School came out, it was either Old School or this newer, better graphic game. Like, people would have played that game instead for sure. But because of the nostalgia factor, Old School really popped off, and I think we've had some good J mods, good team updating the game regularly to the point where it's just kind of a better game now anyway.
Well, it's what RuneScape should have been, if you know what I mean. They got too focused on trying to make the game better and didn't actually realize what it was that made their game good, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, like the premise of the game is already good. They just need to give us more content because that's what we were craving at the time. More bosses, stuff like that.
It was like they were focused on what was wrong with the game as opposed to what was great about it. And what was wrong with it is the fact that nothing is balanced at all, i.e. like smithing and combat, like, you know, the fact you can't have any weapons over like, well, at least back then you couldn't really have any weapons above like 70 attack and stuff like that because the combat system just didn't scale correctly, and like you couldn't release any high level smithing updates because, you know, already 99 smithing to make rune plate legs, stuff like that. All that stuff is obviously broken, but it also just didn't matter, and that was kind of what they decided to fixate on rather than what was actually really good, which was this kind of simple nostalgic game, I guess.
Yeah, the simple point and click is
exactly. I think they always saw that as a weakness as opposed to a good thing.
Yeah, and the team is kind of going down that road of updating skills to make more sense, and probably in a way where they could potentially add like more things to smith in the future to fill in those gaps and stuff. I feel like they might start doing that. they just revamped agility to make more sense in general too. So
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping they stop doing things like that, to be fair, because I think a lot of the sort of broken aspects of the game are what give it the charm, I think.
yeah,
I don't I don't
I honestly
particularly
wouldn't
mind with the
care.
agility thing because a lot of agility is new. Like all the rooftop stuff is obviously new anyway. And like sepulture and stuff like that is all like all the actual things people do for agility are all new. So it's not even that nostalgic of a skill anymore. But like smithing, for example, just leave it as it is. Any new stuff you want to smith, just stick it in on like a 90 smithing requirement or whatever. People will just overlook the fact that it takes 99 for a room plate body.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't be mad if they didn't change that at all. But I just feel
Yeah.
like it's kind of going down that road, and like hopefully they have a really good idea to keep the nostalgia and give themselves some room in that aspect to make it more sense. So I could see like new players coming into the game and they're like level 40 defense and they want like their own rune armor on like an Ironman, and they have no idea how to get it because they can't make it or something like that. But
And can you imagine Extreme OneChunk if you didn't need to get 99 smithing as soon as you unlock smithing, basically?
I mean, that'd
Imagine
be
you
great.
got a
But
rune bar and smithing unlocked, and you need to get like 45 smithing. I'll be like, yes.
yeah, yeah, that'd be you one day getting to 99.
Well, yeah, everyone. Imagine everyone that's finished it got 99, and then they like update it. Or like, imagine I'm like halfway through and I'm like 96 smithing, and then they update a rune plate body to be like 45 smithing. And we're like, oh no.
I mean, the game just gets easier over time in general. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
it would
definitely the
happen.
most efficient way to play this account would be to log out for the next 10 years and then log in when I've got the stats for everything.
Yeah, yeah. When they reduce the Vedion pet drop rate, and then you can log
Yeah,
in and
exactly.
get it.
Oh yeah, I reckon something that definitely is coming is going to be like scaled pet rates. I can see that
Oh,
coming. Like the
I hope
drier
not.
you get, the more the drop rate lowers. I can definitely see that kind of thing coming in,
I think
like
they
that sort of
tested that
RNG
in
protection.
RS3 and it wasn't very popular. Made their
The thing is
pets
though,
like
is
less of a big trophy. That they're trophies, you know. It's not like you have to get a pet. I could see
yeah, I
them doing
think the
it
thing.
with some boss drop rates. Like they already do that with untradables, like the Fasani's
Yeah.
tablet. You automatically get a 100 KC, Forecath head at 50 KC. There's a few other drops like that. I think it's fine for untradables, but for like a main account to um for like GE wise, it's just like for a good economy, it's better to like not scale those rates. Because imagine if you're not an Ironman and you know like once you start going dry that you're gonna get the item soon, you know. Which is just like a payday. You know you're gonna get the payday soon. Other than it just being random, I guess. Um,
Yeah, I think it's better, but also it's like you got to kind of remember that like me and you and other people that are probably listening to this podcast aren't like the stereotypical demographic, aren't like the key demographic. Like we're like mad into the game and play like all the fucking time,
mhm.
and most people aren't like that. So we aren't
Yeah,
what they're trying to hit. You know what I mean? So if scaled drop rates are popular amongst noobs, then that will probably make it in, and I reckon they probably would be. Maybe, hopefully, I'm wrong.
yeah. I hope not. I mean, I always recommend if somebody doesn't have that much time to play a main account because you're gonna have a lot less time doing boring shit like potion making and um, you know, gathering supplies, Iron Man type chores, and you'll be able to actually play the game more, um, and like try out new things. It's easy to max your combats on a main, and you know, any skills you can just buy them from the GE too. All you need is like cash flow. But
Yeah, the only point of playing an Iron Man is like the process of getting there. Like once you get to the end game of an Iron Man, it's just a main account with herb runs. Like it's
yeah, pretty much.
So like if you don't enjoy the journey and it taking a long time and it being difficult, then there's literally no point.
Yeah, and you could play like only a couple hours a week and still progress in Ironman. That's completely fine too. But yeah, you just gotta know that you're not gonna get there to like the end game as fast as you would as like a main account.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's not like it's impossible for sure. You had a pretty stacked Ironman. What kind of items
Yeah.
did you have before? Unfortunately, you got hacked, correct?
Yeah, so I got hacked. So I started it as a hardcore Iron Man. Oh, I can't even think how long ago now. Probably 6 years ago. I started as a hardcore Iron Man, and it was like really stacked as a hardcore Iron Man. It had like full bandos, like all the stuff from Zolra. I had 1,000 Vorkath KC as a hardcore Iron Man. I was the first hardcore Iron Man to hit 1,000 Vorkath KC, which was pretty cool.
Nice.
I was like, I was such a savage on it as well. I was like so confident of Warcraft for some, considering I had like janky internet. I was so confident there for some reason. I was like Wooks walking on a hardcore Iron Man and stuff like that. And then yeah, I was going for the sigils at Corp, and I got cleared because I was trying to log into my work VPN on my other monitor, so I wasn't looking at the main screen, and I'd like spec'd it down already. So I was like, oh, I'm safe. I'm basically just AFKing it to death. So I'm like there attacking it with the Zami spear, thinking I'm safe. I like get the password wrong on the VPN twice. So I was like longer than usual, and I like, looked back at my screen. As I looked back at the screen, I had the core under me, like hitting me to death, and I was like fuck, and like as I looked at it, it hit the last hit points to take me down to 0, and I just forgotten to kill the core before AFKing, and I was like no, and it hit me for a 9 as well, and so the fact that I wasn't wearing a ring of life killed me, so that was just my own arrogance that killed me. And then I continued to just play it as a regular Iron Man, and I basically had everything. I had Twisted Bow, full Torva, Scythe, full Missouri. Like the only things I needed left, pretty much for like max everything, was I was going for Shadow at the point that I got hacked. I had like everything else from TOA, and I was like 600 kill count or something, all on like 400 to 500 invocations. So I was like well dry. So I basically just needed a Shadow and Ancestral, and that was it. So I was like very, very stacked. I had like I think the bank value was somewhere between 7 and 8 bill. And that was in old money when Scythe was worth nothing. And I had 3 of them. So I reckon nowadays it'd be like probably 10 or 11 bill, 12 bill worth of Iron Man, all just gone in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's terrible. Obviously, something that's been a major problem in the game for a long time. But
I am still convinced that it's some kind of like internal leak at Jagex or something, like with ModJed or like RuneLight or something like that, because there was just no reason that account should have been hacked. It was on a dead email address that I didn't use for anything else. So like it wasn't in any leaks or anything like that. It was literally just RuneScape and that's it. I had like a professional check over my computer to see if it had any rats on it, and it didn't. I hadn't obviously been like fished or anything like that because I'm not a fucking moron. And it still just got nuked, and I was like, that's crazy. And they like got through the bank pin and 2-factor authentication and everything. I was like, I fundamentally do not believe that's possible from just like guessing, you know what I mean?
yeah, it shouldn't be.
So I'm like still convinced it's like some kind of joke thing, and they're like, and people act like that's impossible, and like I was guilty of it as well. Like when you see someone get hacked on Twitter or Reddit or whatever, like you just assume it's their fault, like they did something wrong, and I was exactly the same, right? And then when it actually happens to you, suddenly you go, oh, maybe they were telling the truth the whole time. And people act like it's impossible that that could happen at Jagos, but it's like it already happened once. It literally already happened with ModJed, so it's not exactly impossible, is it? But I guess I will almost certainly never know.
Yeah, there's always been, or there has been, a few bad eggs in the RuneScape team. So yeah, it's definitely possible there was something internal, but kind of hard to ever know if it is or not.
Well, exactly.
Uh,
Well, it ended in happiness, right? Because without that event happening, I wouldn't have started CanifisChunk, and I wouldn't have had the success and the on YouTube that came with it, right?
yeah, it was probably a big wake up call to do something else, to start a new account. And you had a one pet at a time account as well, right?
Yeah, so I'd started that like a few years ago, and just never and like released like one episode on it that wasn't very good, like with a crap mic and whatever, and it just wasn't very good, so it didn't really do very well. It had like 1 or 2K views or something like that.
Yeah,
But then
first
when I got
impression
hacked,
so it's important for sure.
yeah, but then when I got hacked, I was like, oh, okay, I'll pick that account up again because that was quite fun. I picked it up and I uploaded it, and I think that the first episode got like 19,000 views or something like that, and I think that really sort of like got the bug in me where I was like, oh my god, this is so good. And like I say to people now, people don't believe me, right? I don't have a RuneScape addiction anymore. I was addicted to RuneScape for like the best part of like 10 years, right? The whole way through Old School
Mhm.
RuneScape. Like I used to think about it all the time, and even though I now play probably more, I think on CanifisChunk it's got 104 days game time in the last 365 days, which is obviously like a disgusting amount of time to play on RuneScape. But I don't think about it when I'm not playing it. And I know, like, if I like released a video playing like Call of Duty tomorrow and it got like 1 million views, I know I could just give up RuneScape like that, like the next day. You know what I mean? So even though I play RuneScape way more than I ever have done, I don't feel that like need to play in the same way, which is quite interesting. So like getting hacked definitely took away my RuneScape addiction.
Yeah, I could see that. Um, even though you play as much, definitely thinking about it when you're not doing it is like a big sign of definitely being addicted. I'd say that
Yeah.
I'd probably go hours without thinking about it if I'm not near it too. So, but
Yeah, well, what I've developed instead though is a YouTube addiction, which is like
yeah,
just as bad, because
yeah, in a lot of
that's now
ways.
what I'm thinking about. I'm like, oh, if I do this intro and edit it like this, maybe that will mean that I get 5,000 more views next time or whatever.
It's the
So,
same thing, like number go up,
oh yeah,
that
exactly. It's
satisfaction.
definitely in the same avenue for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, it's awesome that you started Chunk Count and it had as huge of success as it has. Why did you pick Chunk? Sorry, I mean, why do you choose the Chunk Count, and why did you start in Canifis?
So I started. I've obviously watching Limpet and Verf, and they were like the only extreme or like the only chunk accounts I watched. I actually did watch Slay Bros as well,
Mm.
but like Limpet and Verf are the ones that I like really loved, and I didn't even know that Extreme One Chunk was like a thing outside of those two. I was like, oh, it's just them. I'll be the third guy to do it. And I like started doing it, and I picked CanifisChunk like purely on a whim because I was like, oh, it's quite interesting as a place, so I'll do that. And I'm like, oh, what would it be if like a chunk account got to Barrows? That would be really interesting, right? Was kind of the
Yeah.
only level of thought that I had about it. But it was, as it turned out to be like way more genius of a move than I anticipated it was, because like I've tried to think of it since, like when people have been like, oh, I want to start an Extreme One Chunk account, what would be a good place to start? Like the Canifis start is so unique because you get a whole new area that you basically can't access, or is very tricky to access an Extreme One Chunk account
Mm.
otherwise, by doing a relatively low level quest, right? Like I think I went into Canifis with like level 4 mining and like level 5 attack and level 4 strength or something like that as the only stats that I had. So
Yeah.
like I basically had to make no progress on the account to get access to this whole new area that usually people can't get access to because it requires way too many chunks and way too many grinds before you get there.
Mhm.
So it was like genius, and there's like basically no other spots like that in the game that require such a low level quest to get that much new content. Because like something like Nightmare or Theatre of Blood or Barrows or whatever, like Limpwurt and Verf and people like that won't be there for years and years and years and years. But like in the reverse, like I can get to the grinds they've done relatively easily. Like I'm only like one chunk roll away from like Lumbridge, right, for
Yeah.
example. So it actually turned out to be a really cool place to start. And there's like nowhere else that I can really think of like that in a game. Like possibly like Varlamore, maybe is like that. But other
Mhm.
than that, I don't think there's really any other kind of real simple quests with such massive content locked behind it. I'd love to do a Profidenas chunk account. I think that would be really cool. But you would start with like so many stats, right? Like you'd have
Yeah.
to do so much stuff to get there, which is a shame. Um, but yeah, I thought I'd be the third to do it for some naive reason. And then I made the account and I actually started it as a Supreme Chunk Ironman.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, like I didn't talk during the so I was like playing Extreme One Pet the whole time, and I was just playing that account on the side, and I didn't talk about it at all. Like basically, whilst I was doing that whole first video,
Mhm.
and I was like thinking about it. Oh, I'm going to do a supreme rule set, but I thought the supreme rule set was the extreme rule set. You can see how little thought I'd put into this at the time I was doing it. I was like, it might be cool to do a second series. Why not? Like I probably won't do very well, but I'll just give it a go. So I was like, I was killing these werewolves. Like, oh god, I'm gonna have to kill like 9,000 of these things to get a grimy dwarf weed drop and stuff like that. Um, and then I realized I was like, oh, extreme's actually just best in slot um and like the collection logs.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what I'm playing. So actually I only need, X, Y, and Z items, and it was, they were like up to like 1 in 250 drop rate or something like that. So I was like, oh, okay, that's actually manageable then. I'll do that. And I did that. I got all the items that I wanted. I rolled a few chunks, got to a place that I thought was a natural endpoint, uploaded a video, and was like, okay, let's go to bed. And I went to bed, and I woke up, and it had like 15k views overnight. When bear in mind, my usual videos got like sort of, I don't know, like 4k overnight, and then like grew for the rest of the week to like an absolute peak of like 8 or 9k, right? So it had like 15k
Mhm.
overnight, and it was just like going, and it was like curving upwards as well, which I don't know if you've had that on YouTube particularly. I'm guessing you
Yeah,
have, particularly with your first episode, right?
for sure.
Where
Yeah.
like when the curve is like going upwards as opposed to downwards, you're doing something right.
Mhm.
um and it just kept going up and up and up. And what was quite weird about that video, like it now has something like 210,000 views or something like that, so like quite a lot within the Old
Oh,
School
yeah.
Runescape kind of category. It didn't like spike massively. It more just sort of stayed around in the algorithm for like 3 or 4 weeks, sort of picking up like 200 or 300 views an hour, but it just never died. Which obviously now when I upload a video, it kind of has a humongous spike straight away and then just like fades off quite quickly. But that video is definitely the opposite.
Yeah, the episode 1 for Chunker is yeah, definitely usually the best or the most successful video anyway. I still get
Yeah,
like I mean, every time I upload a new video, it's a big spike on the first video. I guess maybe if
yeah,
people are seeing it for the first time, they want to go back to the start in some
yeah.
aspects.
Oh
But
yeah,
yeah.
for sure. I think I always think it your first video will do about 4 times the views that like the rest of your series will. Like by the time you're on episode 20, I reckon you can expect like 4 times less than the first one. Is how I'd quantify it. It's like if you did like 50k on your first one, I would expect your series to settle around the sort of 12 to 15k mark.
Mhm.
And mine did like 200, so I'd expect to settle around the sort of 50 mark, which is probably about accurate.
Yeah, it's crazy to see the support on first videos of chunk counts. I know a lot of like viewers go crazy over like new chunk counts, new areas that people start in. It's really exciting. As like a someone who loves to watch chunk counts, definitely get that too. Every time I see a new chunker in like a cool area, definitely gets me hyped up as
Oh
well.
yeah, every single first video of some kind of extreme chunk does like a good number. Like almost every single one on their first video gets like 10K, which is pretty crazy considering most people that upload have like no audience when they upload their first video,
Yeah,
right?
their very
And then
first
obviously
video
some of
ever,
them,
and they
yeah,
do that
exactly. And
much.
then some of them get like, 150K or even more. I think it's like it is as close to like a sure thing as you can get in the Old School Runescape community, I think.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, our community loves chunk counts and word spreads quick. So
Yeah,
yeah,
like if you can get like if you want to get like 1 or 2K subs, like almost guaranteed, start an extreme one chunk and just make a good first video, and that is like the easiest way to get 1 or 2K subs ever.
yeah. Hopefully you continue, but yeah, if you wanted to cheat your way to a few, to like a couple thousand subs instantly, that's a good way to start. But
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So how about like the longevity of chunk counts? How long do you think you'd be playing this account before you think you'd have to move on, or do you think it's got that kind of longevity? I know like Burf and Limpward are maybe picking up viewers even as they go. What do you think the long term for you will be?
I think the beauty of the accounts is that they refresh themselves every time you roll a new chunk. It refreshes your whole series basically, so you never get stuck in the end game, and the end game is what people actually find quite boring.
Mhm.
um when you like start an Iron Man progression series, like the bit that's actually interesting is the first bit. Once they get to like just doing 100, like 500 raids to try and get a rare item, you're spending so much time in game for so little footage for one moment that people are interested in. Whereas like the early game really is what people care about. um so I think that is kind of the beauty of extreme one shot right now. I've been playing this account for a year, but if I roll something that has like mining and smithing, right, suddenly I'm gonna have to be like mining copper and tin to get like up to level 15
Yeah.
smithing, for example, on an account I've been playing for a year that has like a bank of like 2 bill and like 100 million XP and stuff like this, which is really different to most series. Most series have quite a linear projection, a linear projection of like where they're going to be in the future. Whereas one chunk is definitely the opposite. Like you're just constantly getting reset, and you are constantly in the early game. And even if you're having to get high levels, normally you're having to do it in a way that is weird,
Yeah.
and people like that as well. Like even if you have to get like 99 thieving or whatever, it's very unlikely that you're going to be doing that RD nights or doing blackjacking or something like that. You're probably going to be doing something quite weird, which I think people really like as well. So I don't really see that and it's also the beauty of a series like this, is in that like if you can start an extreme one chunk series and it like hit and people want to watch it, you can do it for years and years and years. Whereas like quite a lot of other series have a goal that they're trying to get to. For example, like obviously Settled in like a totally different league to us, right?
Mhm.
Um, but like Swampletics, it had a beginning and it had an end goal. And like Tileman, it had a beginning and it had an end goal. And his new series, Nightmare Mode, has a beginning, it has an end goal. Whereas Extreme One Chunk doesn't really have an end goal in quite the same way. So as people like Limpwort and Verf have proved, particularly Limpwort now, must have been playing that account for what, coming up 5 years, something like that.
Almost 6 years, I think.
Yeah. There's no end. You don't ever
Mhm.
have to finish. So from like a sort of YouTube perspective, that can be really good because you don't have to think of your next idea and hope that people like it. Like, and that happens a lot, right? Loads of people play some kind of limited Iron Man or whatever, or they have a series that does relatively well, and then they finish it, and then they upload a next one, and people don't really vibe with it, and then they upload another one, and people don't really vibe with it again, and then they lose like all motivation and stop doing YouTube. Like, there's so many like series like that on or accounts like that on YouTube
Mhm.
that you see. in Old School Runescape. But I think the beauty of OneChunk is that doesn't really happen.
Yeah, I get that for
Because it
sure.
never ends, right?
Mhm.
Like when you finish Chambers of Xeric, that will feel like an end, a finale to you. But actually, it's almost just like the prologue.
Yeah, it's gonna be season 1, so
Exactly. And
I
then
see.
after that, it will be in, because what's actually truly going to be interesting about your account is what can an extreme one chunk do with not only the uniques that you get from Chambers, which will be a totally different experience of, I'm guessing, probably particularly Zaya, at least at the start, than most people have had, which is in no gear, no items, but also like the resources that you're going to get are going to be like absolutely crazy and totally transform your account as well. So that will be actually the interesting part, is once you leave Chambers of Xeric, what can you do with the items and the resources that you've stacked from there?
Yeah, it'll be like a completely different mindset. Like right now, it's can I do it? Can I finish it? And then afterwards, it'll be like, um, yeah, how will these items, all these things I've accumulated, like help me progress, kind of thing. But yeah, I definitely think I'm gonna be shot into the early game again pretty quickly. I'll probably have a smith and grind myself, and yeah, I could get like the catacombs and be smashing some hill giants for like a year, uh like Verf did too. So yeah,
Oh yeah,
it's
that's the thing, isn't it? I think people sort of assume because you've done, and that again is exactly what I'm saying about like it. The beauty of the accounts being always thrown back into the early game is like people assume because you've done 2,000 of Chambers of Xeric, you're going to be set up nicely for everything else. And people assume because of me having done like 73,000 Revenants and having like loads and loads and loads of GP and loads and loads and loads of like smithing supplies, for example, that like I'm always going to be fine. Like I can buy my way out of any problem, but that just isn't the case at all. So like
no.
sooner or later, me and you, both you, are going to have, you know, challenges that the previous grinds we've done can't just immediately solve.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely see that happening. It's
Because for you, something like Herblore will actually be relatively easy compared to most one chunks, but then other things aren't affected. Like as you say, like getting a uncut onyx from Scotizo is barely going to be better for you than it was for Verve.
yeah, the only thing much better will be like Skitizo kill times. I won't have to like flinch or anything. It'll be quick with a T-bow. But yeah, like killing hill giants is still gonna take about the same amount of time to get totems and stuff. And I could go drier than him too, so but there's a lot
Yeah,
of
exactly.
variability. Like nobody's done the game starting at chambers and continuing from there. Most
Yeah,
Ironmen do like a little bit of each raid instead of just doing one at a time. So there's,
yeah.
I mean,
What's
even if
the
I got to a raid, it would be interesting because I'd have all the chambers drops, but none of the other ones.
what's the estimated like Herblore XP you'll have banked by the time you're finished with 2,000 challenge modes?
Um, Probably not counting secondaries, it might be around
Yeah.
90 herblore banked.
Is that it? I just assumed it'd be way higher.
I mean, it depends on RNG, but I think on like an average completion, it would be about that. But
Really? Wow.
yeah, it's I mean that's still like amazing. I could
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly.
that's
Obviously, it
without me
is.
trying, basically.
Yeah. You need to unlock Vetty on the secondaries from there and nuts.
Yeah,
I've got
secondaries
like
are the real problem.
12,000 wines of Zamorak and like 25,000 more fungus and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
If I were to guess, like by the time I get to Herblore Cape, I'll probably have a lot of ways to get secondaries though. At least like
That
bush
is true.
patch, like a limpwort patch or a flower patch, whatever it is. And maybe
Yes.
like some place to pick up snape grass or stuff like that. Like it's kind of inevitable by the time I get to Herb Cape, pretty far away.
Yeah, I'm really interested to know which Extreme One Chunk account is going to be the first to get a max cape.
Yeah, true.
Um, I think that's actually a really interesting debate, and I think there is. So, like, I think there's cause to think it could be a lot of different people because actually the one thing that is the problem is Herblore, because you literally can't train it until you've unlocked those chunks
Mhm.
near Berthorpe. So that will be the thing that keeps people back from it, realistically.
Yeah. I have a feeling. I mean, I have a feeling it'll be Verf or Limport first. They're both pretty
Yeah, because
close to it.
yeah, like I sort of assumed that it would be that Verf would like not be in it, but then I was like, oh, he's done not Port Sarim, hasn't he? So actually, he's relatively close. I think it will be Limpwork because he's already done a lot of the terrible stuff. Even if he's not had to have terrible ways to do it necessarily, he's already done all the terrible stuff. Like smithing is something that like someone like Verf could get absolutely screwed by smithing and have to spend like 2 years doing it, for example. Whereas like Limpur's already done it, and like the farming, they've both basically already done it, right?
He just
And that
unlocked
would be
99 farming Verf.
yeah, exactly. So
But he's got
that's
tight.
something that they because I'm relatively close to those Tably chunks as well. But I don't have farming at all done yet. Like I could unlock farming in a totally awful way that really screws me. Um, and that like them both having that is a huge thing for getting a max cape because it means you can farm herbs and stuff like that.
Yeah, you could have some 99s in your future. See you right around the prayer cape, right around the rune crafting cape, and you got like mining and smithing and around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, mining and smithing is just a matter of time. I think I've got 8 chunks that unlock 99 smithing for me. So, yeah, I think that's just going to happen sooner or later. And that's the thing. There's better or worse ways to unlock it, right? If I'd unlocked 3 specific chunks, I could get Giant's Foundry, and then it would be a joke because I've got like 1,000 rune plate bodies and stuff like that in the bank that would make 99 smithing a joke. But there's also the chance that I just unlock a bronze pickaxe and have to do it with what I've got now, right?
Yeah, and I mean, could you have ever thought that you would roll the way that you rolled before?
No,
Yeah.
well, exactly right. I mean, that's what I said. Like when I started the series, I was like, the one thing I want to do is barrows. I'm gonna roll barrows relatively quickly from Canifis. There's not much choice really for where to go. Like you're sort of hemmed in Mauritania because you've got that huge like Mayaditch block in the middle that means you can't really roll around the sides.
Mhm.
And then there's like one path out. So I was like, most of the chunk rolls are gonna basically be forced into this middle area that I'm already in. So yeah, I'll definitely get barrows like almost straight away. And it was looking really, really good in like the first and second episode where I was like pathing south. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. And then things just really took a turn.
Yeah. Yeah, you could say that. Your wilderness locked.
It could absolutely be a blessing in disguise, though, because I've been talking about the fact that being wilderness locked actually makes Slayer really, really viable on an
Oh,
extreme
for
one
sure.
chunk in a way that other counts don't really have access to, because the main issue with Slayer is obviously the fact that you get a task and it's halfway across the map and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Whereas obviously in the wilderness, pretty much everything is quite tightly packed together. I genuinely think if I unlock 2 specific chunks, Edgeville being one of them, there's a very realistic chance that I could get up to 85 Slayer.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, you have most of the wilderness, or
Because I've
maybe
got
not
like
most, but
I've got like the bottom half of the wilderness, but like that wilderness Slayer cave, that I've like got a perfect circle around as a chunk.
yeah,
Like that has so many different creatures in it. If I had that plus Edgefield Dungeon, I reckon there's a very realistic chance. And also because the wilderness Slayer Master gives 25 Slayer points per task, you're in a way better spot for like skipping and stuff than if you're using a low level master like Vanica or whatever.
yeah. You could definitely pile up a lot of skips really quickly.
Yeah. And that's the thing that's something that could like screw like probably more Limpwort than Verf, because Verf obviously has Korend, which is a huge resource for Slayer. But like Limpwort, for example, like could just get locked behind Slayer for forever and ever and ever and never get a max cape, if you know what I mean. If like he just unlocks something that's way over to the west of the map and that's the only spot it is, like that's Slayer done for ages.
True. I forgot what task he has. Maybe it was like monkeys or something.
Yeah, I mean, and then that's surely basically going to take him into the like basically into the inferno, right?
Yeah.
At which point he's not going to be very happy.
No. Unless he gets like that one quest done, forcing of interest or whatever it is, gets him a free skip. So he could
Does
do that.
it?
Yeah, it gives you 30 Slayer
Ah,
points
I did not
instantly.
know that. That's very interesting. He must be close to that though.
Yeah, he doesn't have. I think that's you need Draenor
Yeah,
chunk
he's
though.
very close to Draenor though, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And also it's not even a death chunk for him because he's already got 9 farming,
yeah. He does.
or
So
pretty much.
yeah, it'll just be forestry once he gets that chunk, and then I think he has like where the cave for the sour hogs and stuff is already. So I think it's just Draenor, maybe like the chunk above it too or something. But yeah,
But still though,
it's
like if he does
close.
that, gets like say he even manages to get up to like 55 Slayer, and then he unlocks like Bloodfelds. It's like, what are you gonna do from there?
Mhm.
Like, you literally can't get them because the normal place you'd go is obviously in Slayer Tower, which is really off limits, and
Yeah,
then the other places are what, like over in the
catacomb.
Gnome Stronghold, Catacombs. Like all of those are miles away.
Yeah,
Which makes having Wilderness Slayer actually doable. But to be fair, he's actually not too far off the Wilderness, so maybe he'll end up on that path as well.
yeah. You never know. Really, never know. But that he's like avoided runecrafting for this long too. Pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely the skill I am by far the most scared of out of all of them.
Mhm.
Is the rune crafting. That's the one that could really, really cook me if I get it relatively soon.
Yeah, at least you won't have a problem with essence though.
No, Soul Wars does make the essence all right, but just the very thought of having to make like earth runes without pouches
It
just
would
scares me a lot.
that would be so old school of a grind though, just walking back and forth from a altar with no pouches
I
in your
know.
inventory.
Well, I've kind of I've thought it over, and I'm like, I think a way that it could get unlocked that wouldn't be too bad would be if I can get access to the Fire Altar, which is a chunk I can unlock, and also Lumbridge, and then I can do like defense cape teleporting on a PvP world with like Rings of Dueling, something like that.
Mm.
Um, and that could be the way to do that. But I don't know. That's definitely the one I'm most scared of.
Yeah, I think it'd be like a funny thing to see though. I haven't seen Limpert do like air rune crafting yet, but that would be funny to see as well. Like who crafts
Yeah.
air runes in 2024?
Yeah, that would be good.
But yeah, that's kind of just how a chunk count is. You do obscure things that are dead content. I remember
Yeah.
Extreme Gnome doing the deadfall traps for his hunter grinds, and then once they added the contracts or whatever they're called, the hunters rumors. People started getting rumors for the deadfall traps, and all of a sudden there's a lot of uproar about like doing multiple deadfalls at once and stuff. But like
Yeah.
he did that grind and like didn't complain one bit. His XP per hour is better than my hunter XP per hour. So
Yeah. Yeah. Hunter's one that scares me a bit as well. Like there's a couple of chunks that unlock Puro, for example. And doing Hunter on Puro only is
yeah,
just has got to be one of the worst things.
yeah. Well, you have like swamp lizards or something soon ish.
Yeah, well, so there's a chance that I can. Well, I've got the level for swamp lizards already. The issue is I don't have a small fishing net,
Yeah,
so I need a small fishing net. If I can get a small fishing net, which is in a chunk that I can roll again, um, then I can get hunter relatively all right because I can do black salamanders.
yeah, yeah. The impling grind isn't bad as long as you have a better way to train hunter than
Yeah,
catching
but doing
implings.
it in Puro is just pure pain, and that's like I think there's a 2 in 30 chance that it's in Puro and a 1 in 30 chance that I get the small fishing net.
Yeah, it's rough. Maybe another hunter method will come up, but see.
Yeah, that would be nice. Or maybe I can just do a settled and convince them to release a small fishing net somewhere I can get one.
Yeah, there's already one in Mauritania, but you have to do Quest to get that one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's locked in Berg which I can't get access to until post smithing, at least.
Yeah, you've got a lot of interesting chunks you could roll soon.
I like mine. I've got a very diverse chunk map in terms of what I could be doing next. Like 99 in many skills could be on the cards, and then also just like I could just get Venom Artist next, and then just be doing more wilderness bossing.
I mean, it'd be cool to get like an early Void Waker or something on your account.
Oh yeah, I really want a Void Waker so badly. I think that would be one of the coolest things I could get.
Yeah.
To be honest.
But yeah, you'll be headed back to the Rev Caves to get more Ether every other video then.
I'm praying. I'm trying to like rumor it into existence. So I keep like saying on stream that like, oh, there's this rumor that they're gonna make Revenant emblems tradable in for Ether. And I've just like made that up. I'm just hoping that people like go, oh, yeah, that's a good idea, and then like post on Reddit about it. I'm just trying to like wish it into existence.
Yeah, I think I heard you say that in a video, and I was like, I didn't hear anything about that. That's funny.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to be the change I want to see in the world. You know.
I mean, I wouldn't be against that for sure.
Well, it actually makes perfect sense. Like, obviously, I would be like the biggest beneficiary of it in the whole game because I've got like 400 mil in emblems just like sat in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
But it does actually make sense. Like, I used to be in a high-end PVM clan for Ironmans, obviously, for Ironman, and everyone just basically didn't use wilderness weapons. Even when they had them, they didn't use them because the ether cost was way too high.
Yeah.
So like everyone would just be doing like Vetium with like dragon maces and stuff like that, even though they had a vigorous chain mace in the bank, and that's stupid. Like that shouldn't be how it is. So, and it doesn't affect mains at all because you just like trade them. You just trade them in at a rate that wouldn't be worth it for mains, but only worth it for Ironman. So hopefully that comes in. I do think it makes sense, and maybe if I spread the word enough, it will it will happen.
Yeah, I think I'd vote yes to that for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can only wish for that stuff. But yeah.
I mean, it would be game changing. I reckon I'd have like over 1 million ether in the bank, which would just be absolutely game changing for me.
Yeah.
Considering in real time, I'm down to about 100,000.
It'd be able to use like wilderness weapons outside the wilderness too, and not
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like crossbow outside the wilderness, like actually slaps.
It does, yeah. Definitely better than MSB at least.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to like say like at Nightmare, for example, like just crossbows actually best in slot for getting the sleepwalkers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be nice to at least have some element of best in slot at these bosses.
Yeah, or like barrows with the scepter would be maybe better.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's better than
No,
air
not anymore. I don't
spells.
think
Yeah.
air spells now. I think it would have been, but I think now air spells, yeah, is way better.
Which is big. I actually like that update a lot. Having weaknesses to certain monsters for sure. Like
yeah, it was a little bit anti nostalgia for me, but I think they implemented it in a very good way, which sort of saved it from my perspective.
Yeah, I almost see like more nostalgia with it now. Like watching people use like actual elemental spells on barrows and on Zulrah and stuff is I mean, just seeing elemental spells used at all is kind of nostalgic since they're just never used anymore.
Yeah, I think they'll only get better as well because they will release like a Tome of Air and a Tome of Earth at some point, and then I think that will only make the spells even better. I mean, I'm guessing nowadays, right, the harmonized staff is like by far the best thing to use in some instances, right?
I don't know. Shadow is so good that it's hard to say definitively, but
Surely, like if it's got like a 50 or 100% fire weakness, and you got like a Tome of Fire and a harmonized staff, that must slap now. That must hit like 75s on a 4-tick. Like,
I could see like
surely.
things with lower health, maybe like barrows with like a Tome of Air
Yeah.
with harmonized. could be
Yeah, I
better.
mean the big thing with Shadow is that it's so accurate, isn't it? On
Yeah,
like high
it's
things.
yeah, on things with low accuracy anyway and low HP, that you want like a faster weapon for low HP.
I bet Harmonized is really fun to use at Chambers now because it's of the tile range. I was going to say because you could basically use it as a Sanguinesti now that they've taken the tick delay off, but you don't get dragged, do you? Because it's got a further range than a powered staff, right?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's using it.
Yeah.
Chambers. Iron Men don't really have it yet. Maybe in the future, now that it's decent drop rates, more Iron Men will go there. But yeah, main account would never have it harmonized before they have a
Yeah.
shadow.
I still don't think that they would. I think Nightmare's just in a really stupid spot, to be honest. Like it's like mid. It's like none of it is best in slot, and yet
No.
it's like way harder than like Chambers of Zarek to do on an Iron Man account. So no one does it other than like collection loggers.
Yeah, it's still not in a good place.
Like on my Iron Man, I had like full Torva, Twisted Bow, Scythe, and still hadn't really started Nightmare yet because it wasn't worth doing until I had a Shadow. That's what I was doing the Shadow for. I was like, if I get a Shadow, then I can go and do Nightmare, which is so dumb.
Yeah. Yeah, it
It's
was
just a boss that doesn't really have a spot in the game.
yeah. It was terrible drop
Inquisitor basically just
rates.
needs to be way better than it is.
Yeah, if I was better, I wouldn't be. Yeah, I think that it could be better, and not many people would be affected by it. I feel like instead of just giving it a buff to mace, they should have just made it better on every crush weapon. Maybe like exclude the scythe in that. I don't know how would they go about that, but I mean
It should be very categorically best in slot for anything that you use Crush on, I think.
yeah.
Like, whereas it's just not. Like, Torva is like basically comparable and also has like massive defense as opposed to Inquisitor.
Yeah,
Like, if they
most
want to
teams
have
don't bring
it go,
Inquisitor into raids now anyway. I mean,
yeah,
Open Wall
like
is pretty accurate on its own. Uh,
exactly.
Tecton, Scython Slash is just fine, honestly. So yeah,
Like, I
Crush
always said that
I use.
Inquisitor would be really good if it made special attacks a 100% hit. So, like, you know, the Elder Maul or the Dragon Warhammer hit 100% of the time when it had Inquisitor on, because that would actually be quite handy for like challenge mode speedruns and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen that suggestion before. Definitely would be um useful that way for sure.
Yeah,
Tough to say what they would do with it.
it's just the boss itself is in a weird spot. Like, it's too hard for what it drops. Essentially, the drop rates are ridiculous. Even now, they're still ridiculous, and the drops themselves just aren't good enough for a boss that hard. Because like I say, like it's actually basically unless you've got best in slot, it's really hard to do. And so why would you do it? As like you should be in theory incentivized to do that grind after you've got bandos, but before you get Torva, realistically.
Hmm.
But it just doesn't feel that niche.
Yeah, it's not in that position.
No.
Yeah, I
As
like the
opposed to
fight. It's a fun fight, but
oh
yeah,
yeah, it's definitely a fun fight. It's just too long. The drop rates are too bad. Like it's too hard. Like it's just too hard. Like the kinds of Iron Men that would want the gear aren't kind of skilled enough to do it or have end game enough stats to do it. Like I think if they made the fight half as long, I think it would see a lot more use. Like if the fights were like 3 minutes instead of 7 minutes, I think it would see a lot more gameplay.
yeah, it's kind of drawn out. You're doing in Fasani's what 4 phases, pretty much.
Yeah, like 4 phases plus an extra one. Like it's like why? Just make it 2 phases plus an extra one.
Yeah,
Job
it's like
done.
the same thing except they just add like one more sleepwalker each time.
Yeah, exactly. It makes no sense to me, and it just gives the boss no place in the game, which is a shame because, as you say, it's actually a very good fight,
Mhm.
and it is very fun, and I used to enjoy doing it. Like particularly if you've got like end game gear, it is really fun. Like if you like using a scythe and full inquisitor and a shadow, like it's a very fun fight to do.
Yeah.
but otherwise it just feels like such a grind.
Yeah, I think that overall they just fumbled on that boss from the start, and it's still
Yeah.
bad even though they made like 10 iterations of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just scaled so bad. It just has no place. Like the gear isn't good enough. The boss is too hard. The first version of the boss they released was just not fun to play.
Mhm.
Fasani's is actually very good, but again goes back to it just being very hard. Like the fact it can just one hit you from 70 hit points is a good thing, but only if it's dropping really end game gear, and it doesn't.
Yeah. The worst part is when you're learning it and you die, you have to run all the way there without the teleport.
Yeah, exactly. Because they were trying to do that. I'll stay for multiple kills. Because like they were like, oh yeah, right. We've heard your feedback that you want more God Wars Dungeon esque bosses where you stay there for a long period of time
Mhm.
rather than going teleporting in every time. We'll do that, and then just did it in like the least fun way possible,
Yeah, I
and then
remember
had
it.
to backtrack it. Hence why there's now the teleport there, and it's like, oh, why? Like, oh, so annoying
Still,
because it was too hard. Again, it's like the fact it did loads of chip damage made it impossible to stay for a long time,
mhm. You
which
think
was
you
just
could do it
weird.
on the chunk count though?
Um, so getting Vetion is actually a huge, huge boon for being able to do it because I've got Sanfu serums.
Oh yeah.
And having Sanfu serums is massive because, like, otherwise, because basically regular nightmare is like off the cards, right? It just takes too long. I haven't got any good food, so I would just get chip damage to death. So like I'd probably be looking at like 30-minute kills of regular nightmare and solos.
Mhm.
And I've got like no actual food, so I just get screwed. So I'm basically only looking at Fasani's. Because it's obviously zero damage if you do it right. Um so I think I could do it. I think the chain mace isn't great, but it's like a dragon scimitar, but for crush, so it should be all right to get some kills. Um, I've got Sanfu, so the parasites won't destroy me. And I've got now like decent stats to be able to do it as well. The mage slightly stresses me out, but I think now that they've made the fire spells like 200% weakness or something like that, that makes it a lot better for me.
Mhm.
Because I'll be able to do like fire wave and hit what 60s, something like that, which makes it a lot more realistic. And then and then I've got the crossbow for the sleepwalkers, which is like best in slot for that, so they don't stress me out. The only thing that I can see being an issue is like the DPS check at the end. And that's where I think I would really, really like to get a Void Waker before Nightmare. Because I
Oh yeah.
think it would not only increase my DPS massively across the fight, because I'd just be able to like chuck in a 40 to 60 every so often, but like during that DPS check at the end, you just dump 2 Void Wakers. That's like 100 damage straight away, and then from there it'll be relatively easy. I think without the Void Waker, that last phase might be quite hard or annoying having to like 1-for-1 it with the Sleepwalker hits.
Yeah, I think you'd have to use Cross or something. You don't have to use Cross there if you didn't want to use Ether. I'd use like MSB and done perfectly fine there. Yeah,
Yeah,
Cross
I
is
have
just
done.
safer because you get the
I have
range.
done, but I think exactly it's the safety of the crossbow because it makes it so I'll very, very rarely make mistakes on the sleepwalkers, and making mistakes on sleepwalkers isn't a problem normally, because you've got proper food.
Yeah.
um, but for me, where the kills are going to be very long, and also I'm not going to have good food on me. I like missing a sleepwalker and getting hit for big damage
Mhm.
would be quite detrimental to each kill, right?
I think you could do it on PvP worlds though if you needed to use like blighted food. I
Yeah,
doubt anybody
I mean
would
that's an
be
option.
looking there.
No, probably not, but I do also have like dark crabs now,
True.
which is quite good. I got like 6,000 of those at the moment, and I can always get like sharks in smaller quantity than I used to be able to get them.
Yeah,
Since that,
did they nerf like the Canifis shop or something? Like right after you
yeah,
did
I've
it?
I've had two things directly nerfed based on like videos and Twitter. So I had the Cannabis Meat Shop, which I used to be able to just get. I think it was how much. It was thousands of sharks per hour that I was able to get out of there by using an ult. And then I also got Vetion phase skipping nerfed as well.
Yeah, they just keep buffing my account, but they're nerfing yours. The hell?
Why have they buffed yours?
Yeah, I've had the Cox changes, which made like some of the rooms easier, and then buffed Elder Maul, buffed Ancestral, buffed Augury. Like
Wow,
my chunk's
so
booming.
jealous.
Yeah.
Do you have an Elder Maul?
No, not yet. It's the last mega rare I have to get.
Oh, no, you want to get that done because I feel like once you have all the mega rares, the rest of it is like light work,
Yeah, I mean,
relatively.
3 items left. 2 pieces of Ancestral and Elder Maul. So if I get the Elder Maul first, definitely be chilling. I would want to get the Elder Maul first as well, 'cause I want to use it, obviously.
Well, presumably it's actually like best in slot for you, and at least at Tecton, right?
As a normal melee weapon, it is best in slot. It even beats out like my best stab weapon at Boss of Crystal, which is weak to
Oh,
stab.
really? Is it better than claws?
Yeah.
Ah, I would
Just
not have thought that.
yeah, as a crush weapon, which is funny. And a slow one
Yeah,
at
that's
that.
funny. Yeah, I mean, it's like you don't even think of it as a good weapon in the rest of the game because it's so slow.
Yeah.
Like that when it takes like how many ticks is it? Like 7 ticks or 6 or something
It's
like
6
that?
ticks, like slapping a god sword.
Yeah, it's like 6 ticks and you're just waiting so long and then it hits a 0 and you're like, oh god.
Hmm. Yeah. The only thing I really like the claws with flinching. I can run head and perfectly get like a 4 tick cycle without taking any
Yeah,
damage. That's
I
really
used to
nice.
do I used to do that in full obsidian with a obsidian sword.
Oh yeah. Well,
That was like years ago. That was great fun.
yeah, like the metas and chambers have really changed quite a lot.
It would be unrecognizable to me now, I reckon, because I used to do it what 2 years ago, like solos, on my Ironman, and I think
Mhm.
now it's totally different now, right? Isn't it? There's so much stuff that's new.
Yeah, I mean, you mainly even when I had Scythe, it was like presumed to bring 500 Lance for solos for the 4 tick, but yeah, now if you have a Scythe, 3 to 1 is like better than 4 to 1 with a Lance.
Yeah, but I used to do 4 to 1 with Lance, even though I had a scythe. I'd take the scythe with me if I had a particularly good setup, and I reckon I could get a PB. I think my PB
Mm.
was like a 1530 or something. Um,
Yeah.
Solo, which isn't too bad, I don't think.
Normally, you just take more damage to get the max hits out of the Scythe if you're doing it that way.
Yeah, yeah. I remember I was so happy because I got the Grandmaster time without Twisted Bow.
Mm.
And I was like, yes. And then I got a Twisted Bow like 3 days later. And I was like, well, that was a waste of time trying to go for that for hours and hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, I'm kind of like trying to get my team to get the Grandmaster times for me. I already got the 5 men, but gotta go for the 3 men. But it's
3-man Grandmaster time's hard, particularly carrying you in crab gear.
yeah, I was
Although I
only
guess you at least
30
have the
seconds
Twisted Bow
away.
now.
30 seconds away before I got the bow. So I feel like
Oh
the
yeah,
right
you'll get
team
it
get it.
easy now. Yeah, a good team would get you through. I bet you could buy that now on one of those discords relatively easily.
Yeah, I
Because
don't want to
all they
buy
do is go,
anything.
"Have you got a twisted bow?" And you go, "Yep."
I've got some friends or some people willing to help for free that I take advantage of, so might as well.
Well, presumably you've got dragon arrows as well, right?
Yeah, I can always pop in the dragon arrows if I want to go for a speed run too.
Ah,
But
that's so huge.
yeah, this random team just like joined me one day, and yeah, all of a sudden they were like gearing up and just got me the 5 man speed time with ease.
Nice.
And just watching them do that was crazy.
Yeah,
But
there are some insanely good teams out there. I used to do it with the boys in Valiance, and
yeah,
some of them are insanely good at PBM.
for sure, yeah.
like all Ironman as well. So like you don't really think of Ironman as being like god tier PVMers because they're just like doing it for the gear. But some of them are crazy. Like they're so end game. They do things like Theatre of Blood for fun. You know what I mean? Like they've got every item, so they just do like Theatre of Blood for fun. And those guys are gamers. Trust me.
Yeah, my buddy actually created that clan.
Oh, did he? Who's your buddy?
Rob.
Oh, okay.
Fox Stevenson.
Yeah.
He's de-ironed now, sadly, but
so many of them do. I mean, that's the thing. I think once you, as I said earlier, it's just main with herb runs. So
yeah, you finish everything. There's not too much point.
yeah, like once you get really end game, there's just no point, basically.
Maybe a chunk count will get to that point at some point. They always
what I've always
Source
thought
Chunk.
is, well, like
His
I
gear.
think particularly with like extreme, it's thought of as very much a skilling game mode. You know, like doing weird methods to get 99 this and that kind of thing. But actually, in the long run, it's just a collection log account. Like once you get 99 in all stats, it's literally just going to be rolling chunks and getting green logs.
Yeah, we do go for pretty high stats pretty early on too. So it's
Yeah, like it will take 10 years to max, but once you have maxed, it's just a collection log account.
Yeah, I agree with that too. But it can still be like exciting to watch. Like not many people do. It's kind of like Tedious's account where he does one collection log at a time.
Yeah,
Basically that,
I think it
except
would still
you're
be a
restricted
good
to which
account.
ones you do.
Oh yeah, and by that point, people, your audience would have been watching you for 10 years. So I'm sure at that point they're invested.
Yeah. I mean, definitely worth it to still do like other series on the side. I feel while I do this account. Maybe if like a few years down the line, another idea pops off. You know, maybe the chunk count would take second to that, but right now I feel like
Oh yeah,
always be
I've
my
got a
first
few.
series.
I've got a few ideas because, like, if I get like a death chunk that's like at 700 hours of AFK grind, I'd be like really dumb. I'd be really dumb not to use that time on something else for the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So I've got a few ideas. I mean, one that I thought would be like, I think I'm probably slightly too big to get away with this now. But I think one that I thought would absolutely blow if someone did it, would be to do extreme nightmare mode. So just do exactly what Settled's doing, but have one hit point like him, but then also have one prayer point and one run energy as well. And like I think it would be totally unplayable. Like 100% it would be unplayable. Yeah, so you always walk,
Dude.
and even if you level up your prayer, you've only got one prayer point. So like you have to prayer flick at all times. Like you can't just camp protect melee.
Yeah.
You
could use an altar if you ran out, but
well, no, because if you lost, the point being, if you lose your one prayer point, your account gets deleted.
Oh, okay.
Like his,
okay.
right?
I probably wouldn't even use
what I'm
prayer
thinking,
ever.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you can never use prayer, you can never lose a hit point, you can never lose your one run energy kind of thing. Was what I was thinking, because I thought that would make it. I mean, it would be totally unplayable, but again, a bit like, I mean, his series is pretty unplayable, right? So I think it'd be interesting to see what could be done with such severe restrictions. And I do think just like the title, Extreme Nightmare Mode Episode 1, is just like free real estate.
Yeah. I feel like it'd be a safe spot account. You just safe spot everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely, right? Like, but I feel like, wouldn't it be? Because I thought, what would be like the single coolest thing you could do on it? And I don't know if it works for all the prerequisites, but I thought something that you could like technically do would be to do God Wars bosses on it. So like make it so your end goal is to get like a Bando's God Sword or something like that, and you obviously would have to use range method, and you'd have to like run in and prayer flick everything and never get hit by the boss, like with one prayer point.
Even the best of the game, I don't think could do that.
Do you know what I mean? Like I thought that would be like the end goal that I'd stick on it, and I would you just obviously never get there. But I do think that is like a totally free real estate series that would be really fun to make, at least
Yeah.
the early game bits.
Maybe
But
like
it's one of
six
those a
jazz
bit.
would be a cool end game for that.
Yeah, that could be cool actually. Yeah, that could be really cool. But yeah, I think that would be like a really fun side series to do. But I think I'm just sort of slightly too big now to like very obviously rip someone off like that. Um, I think someone else could do it as a kind of smaller creator.
I don't feel like it'd be ripping off. I mean, Settle rips off other people's ideas too, but I mean, it's not like a rip off. It's mainly just it's
Well,
slightly
the thing
different some
the thing
way.
that I think would make it questionable is the fact that you would have to. He hasn't released that plugin and said, you know, have fun playing Nightmare Mode yourself, kind of thing. Like he hasn't done that, which means that he is evidently wanting to keep that secret to some extent, or keep that to himself to some extent. So doing a recreation of that plugin, I think would be quite savage.
Yeah, I feel like somebody
Maybe I'm
could
not
make
above
that
that
for
though.
you.
Maybe I'll get Skeldor cooking.
Yeah, I think you could probably whip something up, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually had the idea for Nightmare Mode um before it's settled series. Um I mean, I didn't call it Nightmare Mode, but I was gonna do it as a April Fool's joke because I thought it was just so stupid of a of a challenge. I was gonna like just make a quick video, like I only have one hit point, and have it be like a 5 minute video where I just die at the end and be like, okay, it's over. But
I'm very intrigued to see if he ever gets the fire cape.
yeah, I
Like,
mean, I don't think
I
he's
mean,
starting
the
another
account.
account if he dies now at this
Oh well,
point.
the account hasn't been played for months. Ever since episode 1, the account has been the same. Like the stats and the high scores are the same. So whatever this account has been played all the way through already.
Oh, really?
It's either dead or it has a fire cape on it.
Yeah,
But it's impossible to know which.
I remember seeing he had crazy art Casey. I don't think I saw anything else, but I don't know if you get ranked if you have one
No, I don't think you
play
do.
cave.
Not on Jad, I don't think. Not on Jad, I don't think. Inferno, you get ranked at 1, but I don't think you do on Jad. So I think it's impossible to know. I just don't know if he himself, as the level of skill player that he is, has the chops to do it. You know what I mean? Not necessarily even have the chops to do it technically, but have the chops to do it under that much pressure.
Yeah,
Like, because there is a difference doing it 10 times on your main account in a row with no pressure and doing it once on your series account, I think.
yeah. I know that he wanted to get better at the game in a lot of aspects
Yeah.
before doing this series.
And I think he will be, but I just think like the actual act of doing it on that account under the restrictions that he's got, with the pressure that he's got and all the hours that he's put into the account up to that point, and the like not wanting to let people down and this kind of thing, I think it would just be too much pressure. Like maybe like a Port Kazard or something could do it, but I don't know. I don't know about him.
Maybe he's
I
just
hope
been
he
leaving the
does.
account till it catches up and he does like
Can you
I don't
imagine if
know,
he streamed it?
streamed
Oh
it.
my
Yeah,
god,
that'd
can
be
you
funny.
imagine the views?
Yeah, there'd be
I
so many
genuinely think
views.
if he streamed that, I think he'd get like 50,000 concurrent, if not more,
Yeah, I feel
which
like
would be
he could.
mad.
Yeah, he could hype it up for sure.
Oh yeah, that would be elite. If he's done that, I would rate that very highly.
Hmm.
Like, you know, he spent like he left it, like he finished the account up at Accept the Fire Cape like 3 months ago, and he's just been practicing and uploading the videos for the last like 3 months. That would be very elite from him. And then he does a live stream to finish it off with
Yeah,
like 100,000 concurrent viewers.
I feel like it's a streaming kind of account too, because like people love seeing hardcores do dangerous stuff. Like, I mean, it's basically just a ramped up hardcore doing something
Well, I
crazy.
think I think some of the beauty of making a good series, right? And I say this to Alien Food quite a lot, is if you can make a series out of the stuff that people normally think is the boring part or the bit people would normally cut out of a video, then you're doing like the best thing you can do, right? Where because like Alien Food, like when you do quests on a normal Ironman progression series, you cut out the whole quest and just leave the progression and go, and here's the quest complete.
Yeah.
Whereas he's managed to make a whole series, and his whole video is about the process of the quest, which is normally cut out completely. And that's kind of what Nightmare Mode does as well, is it makes the mundane not mundane.
Yeah, because everything that you do is risky.
Exactly. So like he took the hardcore Ironman risk factor and then just turned it up to 11, right?
Yeah.
And made it so everything is like you're doing Hydra.
Yeah.
Walking out of Lumbridge is like doing Hydra.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's kind of genius in that regard, and it's very good for getting outside of the game, which is obviously what he's trying to do as well. He's obviously maxed the audience of people that play Old School RuneScape, and so the only way to expand is to go into people that don't play the game, and I
Yeah.
think this account does that quite effectively.
Yeah. I feel like every time he makes a new account too, it's gonna appeal to more people because more people know what's going on early game than late game.
Yeah, exactly. For 100%, 100%.
Be interesting to see what he does next because I feel like it is kind of near the end of the Nightmare Mode account already.
Yeah, I just can't imagine what he's going to make that's going to have even more generic appeal than this. Like, because you got to think, like, he's trying to make a series that appeals to people that don't play Old School RuneScape and likely never have. And I just can't even fathom how you would try and do that.
I feel like he needs to go more into story mode. Like I feel like Towman was kind of missing the story mode that Swampletics had. I feel like he
Yeah, I
needs to.
agree.
He just took us down like another storybook kind of like adventure. It'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, he needs to like. I think Swampletics is the best thing that he's made out
Yeah,
of all
same.
three of those main series. But I think it's also. I think we think that as well because we play the game.
Hmm.
Like Tileman is so popular. People loved Tileman,
That's his
and it
most
just didn't
popular.
really
Sure.
hit. It yeah, like it didn't really hit for me.
Hmm.
But it's because I play the game, and I think if you don't play the game, Tileman really hits. But I agree. I think he's got the resources as well to like pay someone to make like a humongous extra RuneScape quest, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like you can with plugins make NPCs that say stuff. Like you can do anything with plugins basically. And I think if he created like a huge like mythos story within the game, that would be like something that could blow quite easily. Like if you made like a sort of 20-hour long quest that was just entirely new to us and to like him, I think that would be really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, he could do anything and make it into a story. You could play like vanilla Chunk Man and like really not make videos like anybody else ever has.
Yeah.
By like making it immersive instead of about unlocking chunks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what he does next. I heard some people in the clan chat thinking he was gonna do a chunk count next. I don't know about that, but
Nah, there'd be no point for him. He's bigger than Chunkman. Like the reason why like, a lot of people do Chunkman series is because they're trying to like piggyback on the success of like Limpwort and Verf and other people like
yeah,
that. Whereas like he's got absolutely no need to do that. Like he's bigger than Chunk, so why copy that format? He's way better just making his own format.
yeah. A lot of people with like 0 subscribers could make like a really good series, but just have it not blow up at all. Settle could put out like whatever new idea he had, and it would get a lot of
Yeah,
traction.
like he's bigger than Chunkman. He can make the next Chunkman, like whatever. Like Tileman is obviously like something did he create that?
He
I don't think he
didn't,
did.
no,
Did he?
he didn't.
No. Yeah, he didn't create Swamplethics either. Because
Or
obviously,
very restricted. I don't know if he was the first.
because Verf did
Yeah,
UIM Karamja
yeah,
first, right?
yeah. Verf did
Um,
Karamja first. There was another Karamja guy before Verf
before
too,
even
I
that,
think.
yeah, that's true.
Who still plays, I think.
Yeah, I think Nightman. I'm pretty sure Nightmare Mode is an original thing, but obviously it's not like an original thought because it's basically just copied off all those Dark Souls
I literally had the
videos.
same
Right?
thought once too, but it's
Yeah.
different enacting it and everything.
I mean, that's the thing though. Like Chunk Man is like perfect. Like it's hard to think of something better than that because it is so good. Because I think when you're making RuneScape content, the most important thing is making the early game last as long as possible.
Hmm.
Um, and Chunkman is just so good at that.
Yeah,
Because that's where I think Tailman sort of lost me a bit. Was like once he got so progressed that he could basically just do what he wanted. Um, it sort of lost the restrictive aspect of it for me. Whereas Chunkman just never really loses that.
no, yeah, it's basically like playing a game in a bubble, and you just increase that bubble as time goes
Yeah.
on. And I think that's good for people who might not know a lot about the game too, because they get to learn a lot about like a specific location, and then
Yeah.
after a while, you add a bit more to that location. They might learn a little bit more about the game that way too.
The other reason that he wouldn't do it as well, though, is that it's far too much gameplay per video.
Yeah, for sure.
There's,
That's why I was
he would
thinking
just
he
never
made it
do
into
that.
a story and then did like vanilla mode, so it wasn't like too difficult to get
Yeah.
out of the chunk. Be
Yeah,
interesting.
because he's obviously at which as he should do, is trying to think of ideas that mean that he doesn't have to play the game very much to make a whole video out of it. Like one of the videos in this Nightmare Mode series was like 14 crazy archaeologist kills, and that was it.
Yeah,
half a million views. And like that's what he's trying to do is like play the game as little as possible for the most content possible. And Chunk is just the opposite of that. It's
literally,
definitely
yeah.
like the limiting factor on why it can't grow as large as someone like Settled as well, because you just can't produce content quickly ever. Like you will get
Yeah,
stuck on a grind that takes a long time. Simple as that. And you can't make videos out of just smithing a million bronze plate bodies, right?
yeah. I met someone in my stream yesterday who name's Shifty Chunk, and he has a YouTube channel, and he can only spend like an hour in a single chunk before he switches chunks. I think is his thing.
Yeah.
Um, but he puts out a video every other day about chunk
Nice.
counts. He's not very popular. Only has 105 subscribers right now.
Well, I mean, he will probably be
But
sad to hear is that I've actually been in development of a series like that for about 2 months,
really
with like a sort of a plugin that goes along with it and everything like that, that will sort of sell it visually as well as everything else.
interesting.
Um,
Yeah,
which
well,
I think
obviously you can make a lot more content if you're like restricted to an hour. If you restrict yourself
exactly.
time wise, other
Like that's
than
kind of how it is. So like when I unlock a chunk, it will have like a timer on the screen counting down from an hour, like baked into the game. And like when I get to the end of the hour, like the chunk like locks itself visually and stuff like that. It like piggybacks off the region locker plugin,
pretty cool, yeah.
which I think will sort of just because things like that sell series, like the Nightmare Mode series, I don't think works without the visual plugin stuff,
Hmm.
for example. So like having a plugin that actually really ties it all together neatly, I think will be really good. And then maybe what I should do is once I've gone live with like the first video I'll ever give give the plugin to Shifty Chunks. I was like,
Yeah,
you've already been doing this. Have fun.
yeah. I still gotta
Um,
watch his videos. I haven't watched them. I just heard about him yesterday, literally.
okay, yeah, I've never heard of it. I mean, I was not surprised if he's got 105 subscribers, but
Yeah,
hopefully
30
he
videos with 105 subscribers.
3 per video, huge. Hopefully he hopefully he has some success with it though. But I do think it's a good idea because what it does is it gives you some of that feeling of one chunk um without the long grinds, which is nice because what people want to see is you unlock chunks, right? And they want to see you get screwed, which
Yeah,
is like Which, like, there's obviously a decent percentage of your audience that are like on your side, but there's also a decent percentage of the audience that are like, I want this guy to roll a death chunk, roll a death chunk, roll a. You see it with Verve, like everyone's like, I hope he rolls in Trana. Please make him roll in Trana, so that he gets totally screwed, which is really funny.
Yeah, but realistically, not even half the audience thinks that way. Most of them kind of want him to get spooned, I feel. And then, because they want more content. He rolls in Toronto, he'll be there multiple years. So
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I think will be good about doing a sort of hourly chunk series is that you get all the joy and sorrow of rolling the chunks without the humongous time commitment.
I could see like a big emphasis on like your time limit.
Well, exactly. So it's all in the
Yeah.
prioritizing and like things like what becomes interesting is actually things like the banks, for example. Like you need to basically make sure you have you have an axe on you and you're prioritizing how you use your time when you've got access to banks and stuff like that. Like for example, like say you get a chunk with a rune shop in, it would be like so useful to just spend your whole time there basically just buying runes. Ready for being able to do magic in other chunks, and stuff like that. And like say like you forget to bring an axe with you from the bank, and then you roll a chunk that all that's there is logs, like trees. How annoying would that be, kind of thing?
For
Because
sure.
I don't know how his works, but mine is like, you do an hour in the chunk, and then that chunk is locked forever, and you unlock a random new one, and you have to keep moving.
This is like locked forever, ever? Or
Yeah, like you can't go back. You can't go back. Well, like so, what the plugin does is it not only sort of grays out the chunk visually, it also makes everything uninteractable in those chunks.
oh
So
wow.
like you won't be like if you click on a tree, you'll just like yellow click through it, kind of thing.
See?
So I will still be able to traverse through those chunks because you basically have to. Like for example, like the desert, there's only one way in and one way out, so you do have to go back through chunks you've already unlocked. You've already locked rather, but you can't do anything in them.
Gotcha.
So you won't be able to go to banks. So you won't be able to do anything basically. So I think that will make it quite fun. But I've got that like on the back burner, ready for if I get a death chunk basically.
Yeah, I really like the concept, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun, and I think it will make for good videos. And what it will do is let me sort of repurpose my time. So instead of grinding for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours every week, and then like spending like five hours making a video, it'll be more like you spend 5 to 10 hours playing, and 30 or 40 hours making a video. So I think it will feel quite different to CanifisChunk in that it will be a lot more tight and a lot better of a video, so to speak, with less emphasis on the gameplay.
Yeah, that's really ideal for a YouTuber. I get that.
Yeah, and it's the thing that you realize like when you're doing these insane grinds is just like there's some stuff that you do where you've spent 20 hours getting one clip that's like 20 seconds long.
Yeah. Yeah, like I
That
love
just
playing
isn't
the
a good use
game.
of your time.
I love playing the game, but yeah, I mean, whenever you get to make a lot of clips in a short amount of time, it feels super good as a YouTuber.
Yeah, I mean, like you must have it like massively, right? Because you must be doing loads and loads of challenge mode kill count where not much happens.
I feel like I get more clips now than I did like killing trolls and chopping trees, though. To be
Yeah,
honest.
that's true. Actually, I guess actually something like what did you do? Like regular trees to like really high fletching or something, right?
I'm doing it right now, actually. I'm at 82 fletching and
And what do you need? 95.
need 95, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like that is just like that's going to take you hundreds of hours, and like cumulatively, you're probably going to get like 10 minutes of clips out of it.
At least I can record podcasts while I do it.
That is true. So but like what like kind of holds with what we're saying though, in that like actually the most efficient thing for YouTube is to find ways to record a lot of footage in a short period of time.
Yeah,
And like
exactly.
Alien Food is like the perfect example of that, right? He gets like a video out every single week, and it's really good. and he's been able to spend time editing it to make it really good. The quest itself means that each video has a beginning, a middle, and an end in a really nice storytelling capacity. Like, it's the perfect series for YouTube. And it's trying to replicate that success with something that isn't exactly the same, right?
Yeah, I definitely couldn't see anyone doing that with an extreme chunk count. It's just too, the grinds are too repetitive most of the time that you really can't get that.
Exactly. It's what makes me feel quite lucky that my biggest grind I've had to do on the account so far is Revenants. Because even though it was repetitive, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, people still want to see PKers attack you, and they still want to see like the big money drops that you get.
Exactly. Like, there's a lot going on in that regard. Like, if I'd had a chunk that took the same length of time but was just skilling, that would have been really brutal.
Yeah.
And that does just happen, right? And you're in quite a fortunate spot, I guess, because like you are getting 95 fletching, which is absolutely ridiculous, particularly on regular logs. But you have a lot of other stuff to mix that in with.
Yeah, I only do a few hours a day, and then I go raiding, which is fun. It's good for streaming too. Streaming's great for someone who doesn't make YouTube videos too often, because I mean, people like watching real time.
Yeah,
some people
yeah,
do.
I'm loving doing streaming. It's so good.
Yeah, streams are popping off lately, and definitely building up a good um, viewer base there on Kick right now.
Yeah, it's been. I genuinely didn't expect it to do as well as it did. I think I get quite a lot of viewers there relative to my like YouTube size, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like people like Telecon and Zays do have a very sort of similar YouTube audience. Have obviously not had the same ridiculous numbers on Kick. So I do feel very fortunate in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, you've been pretty consistent with how you stream, and your grinds are really interesting right now. And I feel like you have a lot of viewers who are really into your series. Like, they might watch like a lot of series, but yours is definitely their favorite. So I definitely
Yeah. I think it's because the
can get a good.
content is quite stream-like in its nature. Because they're like long videos
Mhm.
with quite a lot of me, talking and explaining my ideas. I think that just translates to a streaming audience quite effectively.
Yeah, you kind of uh, came in pretty seamlessly into the streaming type of mentality.
Yeah, like people that like my YouTube videos probably have, or like really like my YouTube videos, probably have a disproportionate um like for watching streams as well. Because a lot of people just don't watch streams, right?
Mhm.
And I reckon I probably just have a YouTube audience that is quite open to watching streams as well, just due to the format.
Yeah, it's honestly great to be able to have that while you're making not too many clips for your videos at a time. Like, that's definitely one of the benefits to streaming. It's probably one of the only ways to make this a full-time thing without being at like Settled's level of subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I mean the fact that that guy like will presumably be taking like 5 figures to do like a sponsor on one of those videos, and there's a sponsor on every video. It's like, God, I wish I was him.
Well, he's been doing it for longer than us too, so maybe by the time we get there.
Yeah, maybe. It's good. You got to take the risks, though, right? It's like he was a fairly like mid YouTuber for a long time. Like he was doing like UIM content and had like 10,000-15,000 subs for like a long time, and then just obviously took a risk on Swampletics, and
Yeah,
the
15,000
rest
is
is
a lot
history, right?
for someone just doing progress videos.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like even at the time, like he wasn't one of the big boys, right? It'd be like you being like the biggest old school RuneScape YouTuber in like 5 years, and people going like, oh yeah, it was always going to be him. Like because even like people like Framed and Torvesta had like hundreds of thousands even then. So him like kind of coming out of nowhere with a totally fresh idea was game changing for him, right? And the scene in general. I think there's a lot. I think we have all sort of stood on his shoulders in a regard. I think a lot of the viewership of all of our series probably. I see it in my stream all the time. People are like, "Oh yeah, I watched Settled Tileman series and then created an account, and now here I am."
Yeah, it's probably partly why the game is growing so much. I think there's a lot of good content coming out of Old School that gets people to play.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like my boss at my sort of job, is like mad on Gillinor games. He's like, oh, I absolutely love it. Like I don't play very much, but like I definitely make sure that I watch Gillinor games every single video. And he watches my videos as well. He was like, when I did an interview with a different guy, and I was like, oh yeah, I really like the cut of this guy's jib. Like, yeah, I'll I'll work for these guys. And then I found out that the other boss there watches my videos.
Oh, no way.
I know, and I was like, this is great. Because like he'll just like call me up from time to time. We'll just end up chatting shit about RuneScape instead of like anything to do with work, which is so
That's
good.
great. Yeah. You kind
And like
of,
he'll like talk to me. He'll be like, "Oh yeah, how many Veteran kills have you done this week?" and stuff like that. Like instead of things about my actual work.
yeah, that's where YouTube's coming in clutch for you there, I guess.
Yeah, I got my best client in sales from RuneScape, which is quite funny.
Oh, that's awesome too. Yeah.
I went to a meeting with it was like a rubbish account that someone didn't want, so they passed it to me, and I like went to the meeting and we were talking like just before the actual meeting started, and they were like, "Oh, what'd you do at the weekend?" I was like, "Oh, I was just playing RuneScape. I don't know if you've heard of it," and they were like, "Oh yeah," and then one of them just like went, "Are you Fray?" And I was like, "Yeah." And this was like 5 years ago, my old stuff as well.
Oh,
Um, and I was like, "Yeah, I am actually." And he was like, "Oh, that's sick. I watched some of your videos." And then he moved to another company that was like way better and took me there. Um, so yeah,
sick.
like I got my best client from RuneScape, which is quite hilarious.
Such a small world, man. That's
It really
awesome.
is. Trust me.
Wow.
Trust me. I was speaking to a guy at my kid's sports day yesterday, right? And he arrived at this sports day and he parked up in the car park in a gold Lamborghini, right?
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, okay. And then his wife arrived next to him, in a G wagon. Like they'd driven
Hmm.
separately, and she'd brought the kids on the G wagon. He driven his gold Lambo, and I was like speaking to him, and he was like, "That's what I did," and I told him, and then he went, "Ah, yeah, like I used to make, I used to, I think I'm like an entrepreneur now because I used to play RuneScape back in the day. Like I used to like merch and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, that is quite funny that like some good kid that used to do merching on Old School RuneScape is now a guy that turns up in a gold Lambo.
Yeah, that's wild.
I was like, do you know what? It doesn't surprise me though, because I did like economic history at university, right? And I think like that propensity to like talk about economics and like understand markets and this kind of thing. I think the effect of using the Grand Exchange and like trading in World 2 as like a 11-year-old is a huge proponent of that.
Yeah, it definitely couldn't hurt. Like any experience, really. I mean, that's
I'd
you
be
don't get a
interested.
chance to like trade stocks as an 11-year-old, but you can trade in RuneScape.
Yeah, absolutely. I reckon there is a disproportionate amount of people. If you like could poll the RuneScape player base or like the old school player base against the population average, I bet the amount with like a degree in something to do with like maths or economics or something like that, or like computer engineering, would be like astronomically higher than the average.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Which I think just all boils down to like basically doing a lot of that as a kid for fun.
Hmm. It's kind of crazy. Like a couple of the other creators I've done podcasts with, one's an accountant and one's is like aerospace engineering, like crazy shit.
Yeah,
But
that's crazy. Like, honestly, it is actually like that though. I do think playing this game as kids has like bettered us in later life
yeah.
as an aggregate.
Yeah, since we're kind of on topic, I'm interested of what you like to do IRL and maybe one of your hobbies. That's interesting.
So I have two kids, like two kids
Mhm.
that are 2 and 3 years old. So outside of doing like 8 hours of streaming 6 days a week, um, and making videos and stuff, I don't really have that much time to like do anything,
Yeah.
other than like look after them and play this game and make these videos. But I'm like so into Formula. So my three big interests outside RuneScape are Formula One, classic Tetris, and also Doctor Who,
Yeah,
which I
there's
think
a
is an eclectic mix.
yeah, I'm a big movie and series watcher, but
Have you watched Doctor Who?
I've maybe watched an episode or two.
Ah, that's
It's not very
criminal.
popular around here, but
It's not, but it's so good. It's the issue with it is it's one of those shows that's like quite up and down. Like some of it like absolutely bangs, and it's like the best stuff on TV, and then other bits of it are like really quite lame.
there's a lot of
Um,
different iterations of it too, isn't there?
yeah, well, kind of. There's like the classic, which is like from the 1960s to the 1990s, and then there's like the one everyone watches, which is like 2005 onwards.
Yeah, I think that's the
Um,
one that
Yeah, like
I've
the
watched a couple
2005
episodes
onwards
of.
is really, really good.
Mm.
Like some of like I love a show that like messes around with time.
Yeah.
Um, that is like a concept for me that always is just really good. Because I think it lets you tell some really interesting stories. So obviously Doctor Who, time traveling alien can play
Mm.
into that quite nicely. And like certain episodes just make me tear up like nothing else.
Oh. Yeah,
Are
it's
you are you a big
always
uh, are you a big anime watcher? I feel like you feel like a big anime watcher.
a little bit like I'm kind of new into watching anime, and I was against it at first, but I had a friend that just was very good at convincing me to
Oh yeah.
start
So what
watching it.
ones have you watched now then?
Well, the first one he had me watch was My Hero Academia, and I still watch
Okay,
that
I've not
now.
seen that.
It's pretty good, yeah. It's not too out there too, so it was a good one to start with. Um, let's see what else I'm watching right now. Black Clover, I like a lot. Um, there's a couple new ones that came out recently that I'm liking. It's not called Kaiju number 8. Um,
Okay.
there's Moonlit Fantasy. Is
The real question now is, have you watched Attack on Titan?
I have, yeah. Yeah, that was also one of the first ones he showed me as well.
Too good, too good.
Yeah.
It's like peak for me. That's the best TV show has ever been.
Yeah, I was so confused. We watched like the first season and then we stopped watching it for a while, and I honestly didn't like it. I was like, I have no idea what happened. It was all too confusing for me. I don't know, maybe we just watched it too late at night and I was too tired and didn't take it all in, but yeah, eventually I rewatched it and it was like the greatest thing ever for sure.
It's
Yeah.
like I think it is complicated, and that's what I think I quite like about anime in general. Is that like there's this like level of respect for the audience that
Mm.
like yes, we will throw a complicated story at you where we don't necessarily fill it all in straight away for you or hold your hand, and we will trust that you will understand it eventually and like look back and go, oh my god. Which
Yeah.
I do kind of respect. Like I feel like in Western TV there's very rarely anything hidden that isn't revealed within the episode that it was originally hidden, if you know what I mean.
I think that makes like the best TV shows and stuff too. I You can see that in like Breaking Bad too. They hint at stuff. They show you like things from the past. They show you things from the future, and they don't explain it um
Yeah,
for a while. And that's
I
like
agree. Like
why it's one of the
Breaking Bad is
best
like
shows.
obviously the best is the highest rated TV show like ever, right?
Yeah,
Well, alongside Bluey, which is definitely another show you should watch because that's unbelievable.
Louis.
Um, yeah, I'm guessing you don't have kids, right?
No, is that like Blue's Clues or something?
Oh God, no! Right, you don't even know, right?
Okay.
So essentially, right, there's this show called Bluey, right?
Yeah.
Bluey, right? And it is a kids show. It is for 4-year-olds, right?
Hmm.
The main characters are a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old and their parents, right? Um, and they're dogs. They're like cartoon dogs, right? But oh my god, I have never watched something that is that good in all my life. Like that is a 7-minute episode. It is crazy. It on IMDb, it is rated equal with Breaking Bad as the
Wow.
highest rated show ever, right? And you don't understand until you've watched it how a show for 4 and 5-year-olds can be that good, but it just is, right? So I'll throw out a couple stats for you, which will make you go, "Wow, that's actually insane." Right, on Disney Plus, the platform, right?
Hmm.
40% of the watch time is spent watching Bluey
Of the
on all of
entire,
Disney Plus.
holy, that's
So, like,
that's
they've got the
huge.
whole Marvel catalog, they've got every Disney movie ever, Star Wars, all the new Star Wars shows, all the new Disney shows, and yet 40% of the time is spent watching Bluey.
Yeah, imagine how much like parents just put that on and like leave their kids for a while though, or like put them to sleep to it. Because I
Yeah,
do
probably. But
remember,
the thing with Bluey though is like unlike like things like Peppa Pig and most kid shows, right? You put on and you just leave the kid watching it, and maybe you do the washing up or whatever, right?
yeah,
Bluey though, you sit down with your kid and you watch it because it's so good. Like
see,
there's episodes that make you cry. Like you're sat there as an adult crying over a show that is like 7 minutes long about a cartoon dog. It's so good. Like have you got Disney Plus? Because genuinely, I'll set you homework of watch like 3 episodes of Bluey, and anyone else listening should watch these 3 episodes, and they will cry.
I could I could probably get a hold of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Watch Sleepy Time. Watch Flat Pack, and watch Cricket. If you watch those 3, you will cry.
All
Like
right.
genuinely, such clever storytelling, and they're only 7 minutes long each, and yet at the end you'll be
Wow.
like, "Oh my god, how did they fit that much emotional storytelling into this?"
Yeah, I'll give it a chance. Like, probably one of my favorite shows ever is also kind of considered a kids show. The Avatar: The Last Airbender. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah,
Um,
everyone loves that.
yeah. So
I used to
I'll
watch
give it
that
a
as a
chance.
kid and like have watched it again relatively recently, and that's so good. That's obviously for like slightly older kids. That's for like
Yeah.
12-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
Um, but what makes shows like that good is the respect for the audience. Like they're not like going, "Oh, 12-year-olds are obviously stupid, so we're gonna make this show stupid all the time." Like obviously in Avatar: The Last Airbender, there's like wacky moments, right?
Mhm.
But they still tell like an emotional, serious story, like at the heart of it, right?
Yeah, yeah, you can kind of see like first season is kind of more like just a general like kids TV show, and then after that they're like, okay, well the show became popular, so let's actually make it a show.
Yeah,
Although
exactly. And
there is
that's like,
aspects in the first season where it's like actually pretty
yeah,
good too. But
yeah, and that's kind of like what Blue is like as well. To be fair, like the first series isn't like doesn't have like as many like hard hitting stories as the latter two. It does have some, but like in the second and third series, particularly the third series, they really like lean into the more like hard hitting ones. And oh my god, they're so good. Like bear in mind it's like a show for like 4 or 5-year-olds, and they're like, like telling stuff like, absent fathers who like are away like because they work in the army, or they like work abroad or stuff like this. Is like one that like is obviously like quite mature subject matter,
hmm,
but told through this like lens of the kids and stuff, which is actually like just so sweet.
yeah, relatable and for a lot of people.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
relatable, and as I say, just like respect for the audience. You know what I mean? That like, just because it's for 4 or 5-year-olds doesn't mean it has to be fucking stupid.
yeah, I get that. There's so many really dumb TV shows that my niece and nephew watch,
Yeah, honestly.
and I miss some of the TV shows from when I was a kid that had a lot of adult things that you'd never understand as a kid, but you'd pick up as an adult.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I think the thing that like that Bluey recognizes, like adults put TV shows on, even if it's being put on for the kid. Like the adults choose what they put on.
Mhm.
So I'm surprised people haven't done it before. Like just release an actually good kids TV show because parents love it.
Yeah, it's a great idea,
So yeah.
honestly.
It is a good idea. It's why like things like Monsters Inc. and that are really good because actually when you watch it again as an adult, you realize there's not adult jokes, but like there's jokes that are for the adults, right? I
Yeah.
remember one in Monsters University that I watched where like she like sends her kids off and they leave and then like she's like a middle-aged mum and then she like puts the music on in the car and it's like heavy metal
Yeah.
and it's like and like that just goes over your head like when you're a kid, but like when you're an adult like you realize that that's actually what parents are like.
Mhm.
Like they look like sort of fuddy-duddy parents, but then they all obviously have their own personalities underneath it all, right?
Yeah,
Which
they
is kind
they
of
put
funny.
up a lot of their like interests and stuff to have a better like environment for their kids, but once the kids are gone,
Yeah, exactly.
close
So
up the
and like
window.
you miss those jokes when you're a kid, but then when
Mhm.
you're an adult, they hit again. And I think those are like the best shows and the best movies for kids. It's like where there are those bits that like are relatable for the parents and adults watching.
Yeah, I could see that. Definitely definitely gotta check that out. If you say it's good, I'm gonna trust you for
Well,
sure.
I say it's good, and also IMBD says it's the best show ever. So
Apparently, yeah. Well,
on par with Breaking Bad. Like, can you believe that? Can you actually believe that? It's like BBC, like the BBC,
yeah.
the production money making arm of the BBC is called BBC Studios, and they have the merch rights to Bluey and nothing else. They can't
Mm.
show Bluey the TV show, but they have the merch rights. And 40% of their revenue comes from Bluey merch alone, which is just madness, right?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's a crazy show.
See if you have anyone you want to shout out. Maybe some smaller creators or possibly creators that inspired you.
See, this is hard because normally when people ask me to shout out smaller creators, I normally lead with yourself. So
Uh,
that's a
I
tricky
appreciate
one.
that.
So Agile Tom, Hannibal is always a worthwhile watch for people. I think like
Mhm.
people that watch me, I think will like his style. He's like a British guy playing a supreme OneChunk Ironman. The style is very similar to mine, and I think he makes really good videos as well. And then I've had to
Okay.
think of someone else. I genuinely don't know. I don't. To be fair, now I'm streaming and obviously have the kids and stuff. I don't watch too much Old School Runescape YouTube anymore.
Mhm.
So I only really have time for the old faves, and the old faves are Verf, Limpwert, yourself, Josh, Alien Food, and Hannibal. So yeah, if in terms of smaller than me, watch Hannibal.
There you go.
Like, comment, and subscribe to Agile Tom and Agile Tom's second channel. What's it called? Tom Agile?
Also, Agile Tom.
Also Agile Tom. Yeah,
Very creative, I
subscribe to
know.
also Agile Tom.
Thank you. Peace out.
Bye.